All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. Again, I'm Mary Jane Frogge. I'm here in Lancaster County, and I want to talk about herbs today. It's one of my favorite things to grow, and I've kind of gotten more into it the last couple years. So I'm just going to share some things I learned. So growing herbs, you really just need full sun for most things. Will do best in full sun, and they're pretty easy to grow and to dry. So you can, if you've got a garden space that's in full sun, that's perfect, but you can also grow in containers. They do very well there. So that would be an option if you don't have a garden space. This shows us the backyard farmer container or the herb garden that they have in their raised beds. If you have a chance to get out there before it freezes, I recommend it because one, it's beautiful, and two, they've got so many herbs and they do really well in the container. So this is one of their containers just full of different types of herbs. So hopefully you can get out there and visit. So when you're designing your herb garden, there's lots of options and there's just not one way to do it. So a lot of people like an informal garden, and you can mix herbs in with your perennials. You can have them in your vegetable garden, just wherever it works for you. So this just shows a picture of an informal garden with the herbs mixed in with the perennials, and it's beautiful. Many of our herbs are just wonderful plants and just very ornamental looking too. So they blend in really well with our other garden perennials. So this is my little garden that I have that's just kind of a cottage garden. I planted some new things this year, and it's close to the house where it's sunny, good access when I want to go harvest. So I just have a few things there, kind of, I don't have a lot because I don't have a lot of room. So it's just more so I have a variety. I don't have a lot of one thing in this particular garden. And then there's formal gardens. Now these have always fascinated me, and just the detail, the design, all the work involved to make it look great. And so I've always aspired to have one, but knowing I just don't have the time to commit to it. But I just really enjoy visiting formal gardens and herb gardens especially. But I knew I wanted to have something close or something that would fit my lifestyle. So I've been planning for years and I finally got it done this spring. I planted a small formal herb garden. So it's pretty small. It's only 8 feet by 8 feet, and with my focal point, my bee skep. But I was just thrilled that I finally made the commitment to get it done. And so this is my start. So I did my soil preparation in May, and since it was a small area, I decided just to double dig it. And it was mainly grass, some weeds. I just needed to get out of there, get it committed to a garden space. So it took me a few days. Wore me out doing that. I'm not used to digging that much, so it took me a couple days to get the soil prepared. And luckily in that area, the soil was really good. So I didn't have to make any amendments. If you have a poorer soil or a lot of clay, you would be able to add compost to improve that. And but I was fortunate I didn't have to do that. So once I got all the weeds out, that was my biggest issue, to make sure I got all the weeds out so they wouldn't come back once I got things planted. So, but yeah, double digging in a small area is workable, but a large area that can be a really hard to do. So that's kind of why I wanted to start small. So in my little herb garden for this year, I planted lime basil, lemon thyme, lavender, and rosemary. So those were the plants that I picked, and uh, wanted more of the time to kind of fill in as a ground cover around my other plants. So that's all I had for this garden this year, with the option knowing that I can always expand in the future. So once I got it planted, they did really well. I was really fortunate, and everything lived. And so then I put mulch around the plants, as they grew, and to help control weeds and then moisture. Luckily, we've had good rain this year, so I haven't had to water a lot, but everything's done well, and I'm just real pleased how it turned out. So this is how it looked in August, my little formal herb garden. So, you don't have to start big. You can pick what style you want for your design, or, what suits you best. So we'll talk about drying a little bit. It's really easy to dry herbs. There's different methods. You can hang dry, use a drying rack, or just put them on a cookie sheet with a paper towel, or even use a dehydrator. That makes it go even quicker if you do that method. So I like to bundle my herbs, just take maybe 3 or 4 stems and use a rubber band to tie them and then loop them over a hanger. And then I can get several stems, groups of stems on that hanger, and then I can hang it in a closet or just over a cabinet knob until they get dry. And so that's really works well for me. But before you store them, you want to make sure that they are very dry. I mean, like crispy, crispy dry. If you store them in a container and they're still moist, then they'll mold, and then you've lost all that work that you've done to harvest and to grow them and then to harvest them. So make sure they're very dry, and then you can store them in, you can store them whole, or you can break them up and put them in glass or plastic containers, whatever works for you, or even a baggie, a plastic bag, that will work too. But I guess I did forget to mention, you want to wash them gently before you start the drying process. So rinse them off, make sure you get any dust or dirt or insect eggs off of them before you dry them. So there's lots of uses for herbs. We use them to season food, make herb cream cheese, tea, foot soaks, potpourri. There's just an endless list. So lots of different uses for herbs. So in 2024, I wanted to start some seeds, start some herb seeds, or start some plants from seeds. So I got a large selection because I had done a few things, but I hadn't done a whole lot. So I just kind of wanted to do a trial of different herbs and see how I did at growing them and see how well they did, and which ones were easy to start from seed and which ones weren't. So I learned a lot, and of course, made a few mistakes along the way, but it was fun to learn about growing different seeds from and making transplants. So I've got my seed mix. I use peat pots and plastic trays. I use both. Got my seeds. Be sure to read the seed package. That's real important. That will show up again later when I talk about individual herbs. Be sure to mark your seeds so you know what you're growing. You can get a grow light or a shop light. I use at home a shop light. They're fairly inexpensive, and then just get the grow bulbs. And then definitely keep track of what you're planting, when you planted them, when they germinated, when you plant them out in the garden, and when you harvest. This is helpful information at the end of the year, so you can decide what you like to grow, what you want to grow for next year. And just, I know it's hard to do once you get into it. You kind of can forget. You might want to set reminders on your calendar to be sure to enter that information in your journal. So again, to talk a little bit more about the light source, when you're using grow lights or a shop light, once you get them placed under the light, you want to lower the light as close as possible to those seeds that will be germinating. If you can have it just an inch above, that will be great. And then as the plants grow, you raise it up because you want that light source to be as close as possible. There are some herbs that need light to germinate. And then once they start growing, be sure to thin. Sometimes, especially with some herbs, are really tiny seeds. You might get too many seeds there, or think, oh, I need to add more. And then you've got a little clump of little plants coming up, so you'll need to thin them down so you have room. If you use some of the peat pots, like I did for the for the basil, you would maybe be able to have 2 plants in that peat pot. So again, write down your germination dates in your journal. So other things to keep track in your journal. So the list of plants or seeds that you planted, the seed starting dates, the germination dates, planting outside, harvesting dates, so when you're able to start harvesting, and then a list for next year, because you might think, oh, I wish I would have planted a couple more types of basil or thyme, or if you've got some maybe some craft projects that you wish you would have had some herbs for, then you can have a variety for next year. So we're going to talk about some individual herbs. Basil is one of my favorite to grow. I try and grow at least 3 or 4 different types. So we'll talk about sweet basil a little bit. It is an annual. And when I was germinating seeds, I got it to germinate in 7 days, which is pretty good since it's like 5 to 10. You just barely cover the seeds when you start them. And you can start them indoors 4 to 8 weeks before the last frost. Basil is one that is fairly easy to plant outside. So if you don't have growing space inside, you can direct seed them after the last frost, and they do really well. So that is a great option for basil. Basil is an upright branching plant. It can get pretty big. This year with all the rain, it might have done pretty well. Can get 2 to maybe almost 3 feet tall. Spacing is really important with basil because it can get to be a pretty big plant. And if there are too close together and you don't have good air circulation, you can get some mildew. And I did have that one year, and it was so frustrating because it spread pretty quickly and just ruined all the plants. So having them spaced apart is a good thing, and in full sun they do much better in the full sun, and they do use a lot of water, so watering is real important. Basil will let you know when it needs water because it will wilt, so keep an eye on that. Basil is a attractive flower for bees and bumblebees. They visit the flower, so if you let it go to seed, you will see a lot of bees. When I was reading about basil, I didn't realize there were so many different types. There are varieties, cultivars, and hybrids of basil, so a lot to pick from. So definitely try them next year when you're planting your garden. Borage is another favorite of mine. It is an annual. I don't so much eat it, but I grow it for bumblebees because they really enjoy it. It has a really pretty blue flower, and it's another one that is easy to start outside, and it will reseed itself. I had some of that happen this year from the ones I planted last year, and so I had so many I had to thin, and that was hard to do because that's one of my favorite plants, but I needed some room so for some other things. So that is one that you could put outside. It has an upright growth, but it's also kind of spreading. Mine kind of tend to flop over, and so you need to give it some room too, so it makes sure you have enough room for it. Full sun does better, probably less flopping in full sun, and it has a cucumber taste. So the leaves and the flowers are edible, and like I said, bees and bumblebees really enjoy the flowers, and so that's the main reason that I grow it. Chamomile is another favorite. It is another annual, great for tea. That's why I raise it. I was able to get it to germinate in 3 days, which was very surprising. It is kind of a slow growing plant though, so it does take a while before you have a big enough plant to put outside. And it's sometimes a little hard to transplant. So you have to be real careful with transplanting it, but once it gets established, lots of really pretty flowers, and then great for tea. And it's another one that reseeds itself. I don't have as good a luck, but that is a possibility. So it grows in mounds and then has tall flower stems with the little white and yellow flowers. And so once it starts blooming, you start harvesting the flowers for you can use them fresh for tea, or you can dry them and have some tea later. And definitely by pruning those flowers off, it should rebloom, so you will continue to have flowers to harvest. Chives are a perennial. I love the color of the flowers, and again, it's another one that's visited by pollinators. I had bad luck with chives because I did not read the label. I've learned that germination rates for allium, so that includes onions, shallots, chives, and leeks, uh, the seeds start to decline right away, and you shouldn't keep seeds from former years. And I didn't check my seed packet and didn't realize until I had no germination that I had something from 2015, which is very, very old. So I did not have anything grow for chives last year. So keep that in mind. If you're going to start from seed, buy fresh seed every year so you have the best luck. And then either share it with a friend or spread it out so they get used up, and don't save them for the next year, because the germination rate will start declining. And then certainly 2015 is way too old. So I had to this year I just bought plants to put in my herb garden. They are will germinate fairly quickly. So by 10 days, they grow a little slow once they are germinated, but they have little plants that will get bigger each year. And so maybe the first year you won't be harvesting a whole lot, but the following year there'll be bigger plants and doing pretty well. So I really love the shape of chives, and the leaves are so different from everything else. I think if I add on to my formal garden, this would probably be some plants that I would add to it, just because I liked the size and shape. And they are really easy to harvest, the leaves, and you can of course, use them fresh. You can dry them, or you can freeze them. You can just cut them up into small pieces, and they dry really quickly. So lots of options for chives, and they also grow well in containers. So that is another option if you don't have garden space. Chervil is another herb that's an annual. I like to grow it for the leaves. I like the taste of it. It's a little stronger than parsley. And it's another one that you can do direct sow outside. It does have a delicate taproot, so if you do start seeds inside, be careful when you're transplanting. Got it to germinate in 5 days, so that was pretty good. I was real pleased with that. I'm hoping that I have a couple plants this year, so I'm hoping that they will reseed for next year. So I'm curious to see if I will have luck with that. Have an upright habit. I think the leaves are really pretty on this plant. They're kind of a lighter green. And as soon as you start getting leaves, you can start harvesting, or to use fresh, or to be dried. It does resemble parsley. It's just a little bit stronger. So if you like something a little stronger than parsley, it should do well, or it should be something that you like. The plants will flower. They call that for that plant, since it's annual, bolting, but that's okay. It's okay to let it go to seed, and seed itself. It's just probably going to have less leaves once it starts to flower. Cilantro, this one I did not start seeds because it's not one of my favorite herbs. I don't like to eat it, so I didn't grow any. But that's just a personal preference for me. But it will germinate in 7 to 10 days, and I think it has kind of a strong flavor. Some people really like it and really like to cook with it. And it is one that you can direct seed outside also. You want to wait until the soil temperature is at least 60 degrees when you when you direct seed outside. It once it starts producing leaves, you can start harvesting. And like I said, a lot of people use it for cooking. It is one that needs a lot of moisture, so during dry periods, keep it moist or it will bolt. They recommend removing the flower stalks to help it to keep producing leaves for a longer period of time. And it will self-seed, so if you want more next year, you can just let it go to seed once you're done harvesting for this year. And again, prefers full sun. It will do best in full sun. So just to kind of clarify, you hear cilantro and coriander. It is the same plant. So cilantro refers to the leaves and the coriander refers to the seeds. So they are the same plant. Dill is an annual. I do really enjoy growing dill. I sometimes struggle with it. I usually put it out as direct seed, and need to wait until the soil temperature is above 60, and that's probably where I've gone wrong. I get it out there too early. It is one you can start indoors. It does germinate pretty quickly and grow pretty quickly, but then it's more difficult to transplant. So probably better to direct sow outside, but there is that option. And that's kind of what I did this year, was to start it indoors because I was having such trouble getting it going out in the garden. But so many options for dill. You can harvest the leaves, you can harvest the immature flowers, and you can harvest the seeds. So lots of options for dill. Yep. There are different varieties. Some of them are a little shorter. That's one issue, that it can get to be pretty tall. Some of the varieties are up to 3 feet and then they fall over. So there are some varieties that are shorter. So if you have a problem with them falling over, maybe pick a shorter variety so that they will, so you won't have that issue. And yeah, and then for harvesting the seeds, you wait until they're brown on the plant, and then but you harvest them before they start falling off the plant. So that they call that when it shatters. So place them in a open paper bag and then let them dry that way. Otherwise, you're going to have dill seed everywhere because it just drops off when you bump it once it's dry. Dill, I haven't talked about insects much. Most herbs don't have a lot of insect issues unless it's something like a caterpillar. So there is the swallowtail caterpillar really enjoys dill. It will also feed on parsley and carrots. So I guess I recommend planting more of those plants so you can share, because the swallowtail butterflies are just spectacular in the garden, and but their caterpillars feed on both those plants. So you don't really want to control them. But it's hard when you see your dill going to something other than yourself. So that's why I always recommend planting more, so you can share with the swallowtail caterpillars. But they are one insect that will feed on them. Lavender. I was able to get lavender plants to grow. They are slower to germinate, 7 to 60 days. So that really presses my patience. I'm not very patient. I want them to germinate much sooner. I got them to germinate in 20 days, which was pretty good. 60 days, I'd be kind of wondering if they're coming or not. So that's one that you're going to have to really stick it out and give them time to germinate. They recommend that soaking the seeds before you plant them. That will help with germination. So if you soak the seeds 12 to 24 hours, that will help. And then just press them on the surface. You don't have to plant them very deep. So since it takes so long to germinate, you're going to want to start them pretty early in the spring, so you have plants to put outside, because that's a pretty big window of a week to 2 months to get them to germinate. But once you do, you've got this beautiful beautiful plant, beautiful herb, and then these wonderful flowers. So it's certainly worth the wait to get them. Some people have really good luck with lavenders wintering over. I haven't in the past, or maybe they only last maybe one more year. So I'm curious. I'm going to leave the ones in my formal garden that I planted and see if they make it. I'm hopeful, but I know that there's a chance that they won't. They're already predicting a lot of snow and cold weather coming up for us this winter, so it will be a good experiment to see if they make it. But there's a lot of different uses for lavender. It's got a great smell, so there's a lot of crafting and ornamental things you can use with them, and then certainly they're edible that you can cook with them too. But beautiful, absolutely beautiful flowers. So I really enjoy planting lavender, and there's different types of lavender. I just picked this one for one to try to grow from seed. Lemon balm is a perennial. It is in the mint family, so it does spread. I've had it for years, so I didn't plant any from seed. My plant is probably 30 plus years old, and luckily where I have it, the soil isn't very good, so it hasn't spread a lot. So I haven't had a real problem with it. Some people don't want to plant it because it spreads, but the leaves are so scented. It's just, to me, it's just let it go, because it just is a great plant to have because of the wonderful scent of the leaves, and it makes an awesome tea if you want to try it as a tea. So if you are going to start seeds, start them indoors. It takes 7 to 21 days for them to germinate, and then once they're outside, they're pretty much carefree. They will perform great for you, and they, like I said, they do spread. So of an upright branching, and then as soon as you've got stems that are 6 inches long, you can start harvesting. You can just harvest the leaves, or you can harvest stems and, like I said, bundle them together and hang dry them. Once they go to start flowering, they are attractive to bees. Bees and bumblebees will be all over the flowers if you let them go to flower. So nice perennial, almost always comes back. So like I said, I've had my plant for a long time. It's done really well. So that's one great aspect of it, that it usually always comes back. Marjoram is a tender perennial, so it's not hardy here. So you kind of, I guess, in Nebraska would treat it as an annual. I got it to germinate in 5 days, so that I was really pleased. For me, it grows really slow. I did get it to overwinter as a house plant. I brought it in, and it did fairly well as a house plant, so I could put it back out this spring. But or you can just start it from seed new every year. That will work too. You can start inside, or it is one that you can direct sow. I've not tried that, so I don't know how good a luck that you would have with that. I may try that next year, just experiment. But indoors, it did really well. It's kind of a mound type habit. It doesn't get very tall, and it kind of starts to look like it's kind of vining out a little bit. Does best in full sun, and it has little tiny flowers that attract little bees. So it is good for pollinators too. Mint, lots of different types of mint and spearmint that you can grow. It is a perennial, and like most mints will spread. Got it to germinate in 14 days. I really enjoy mint, the smell of it, but mainly how it attracts pollinators. Bees and butterflies love mint, so I usually let let it flower, and just kind of wherever I decide to put it, give it plenty of room so it can spread. But it's also great for cooking and for tea. So you can, once you get stems that are big enough to harvest, 6 to 8 inches long, you can cut them, and they're great, really easy to bundle together to grow. And also mint does fairly well direct seed outside, so you can try that method too. Most mints are upright and branching. They can get fairly tall, up to 3 feet. It's a good to give them plenty of room when you're planting new plants, because they will spread and get bigger. So make sure that you don't have them too close together. They will grow in shade. They just won't be as big. So full sun is probably a better place for them. And if you don't want them to spread, then one thing that's recommended is planting them in a container, and then you can sink the container in the garden, and that will help kind of contain them. They can escape, they can come out the bottom. So in the fall, or the next spring, you might want to pull it up and prune off any of those roots that are coming out the bottom, and then reset it. So do that. You can do that in the spring. You can leave the container in the garden over the winter, and it will do fine. But that's one way of discouraging it from getting too out of control. Oregano is another perennial. I really love the flowers on oregano. They're really kind of different than other flowers from our different herbs. And again, bees and even some wasps really like the flowers. So I kind of grow it for the metallic wasps that are non-aggressive, and they are really numerous during the summer months. But also great for different recipes when you're cooking. So I use it a lot for that. Another one that's easy to bundle and dry. So when you are planting them from seed, it's one that needs a little bit of light to germinate. So you just press them into the top. They can take a while to germinate. I was lucky, had 5 days, but it can be up to 3 weeks. So start them early. They do grow fairly slow until they get into a transplant and outside, and then they really do take off and do well. So it's more of a sprawling type of plant, but they can get 1 to 2 feet tall. Do best in full sun. And like I said, as soon as you get some plants that have stems that are 8 to 12 inches, you can just harvest leaves, or you can collect stems and bundle them to dry. But there's lots of different options for flavoring with oregano. Parsley, there's kind of 2 different types. I'll go over both of them. So the moss curled is one that you can grow. Sometimes they can be fairly slow to germinate. I was able to get them to germinate in 8 days, but usually it takes much longer. Usually it takes at least 2 to 3 weeks. And they also recommend for soaking those seeds overnight to aid germination. So what I usually do is just put them in a little glass with just a little bit of water, and set them on the counter, and then the next day plant them. So it's not too much that you have to do to help get that germination quicker for you. Definitely, I start them inside. I think you'll have better luck if you start seeds inside than sowing them outside. But you certainly can just wait till after the last frost. The moss curled parsley grows in a clump, gets about 12 inches tall, and parsley, I mentioned that, it's a biennial. So the first year you've got your clump of leaves, and then the next year it goes to seed. So it puts on a lot less leaves when it's in its second year, when it's putting on flowers. You can still harvest the leaves, but if you want a lot of parsley, and if you want to share with the swallowtail caterpillars that will show up, you'll probably want to plant some new plants each year. I wouldn't pull out the old ones. Let them go to seed, let them flower, and maybe move the swallowtail caterpillars over to them. But good to plant something each year to keep those plants going, then that you had a lot of leaves to pick from. I really like to cook with parsley. I like the mild flavor, and so it can go in so many different things. So I like to have a lot of plants, and then also have a lot of plants for the swallowtails. And it does best in full sun. And as soon as you've got some leaves to harvest, you can start picking and using them and drying them. The other parsley is the flat leaf, also known as Italian parsley. It is also biennial. I didn't grow any 2 years ago, or didn't start any from seed, so I would assume it'd be about the same, uh, 7 to 21 days that I had with the curled parsley. Again, soaking the seeds overnight will help with germination, and starting them inside, giving them plenty of time to get established and get a big enough plant to put outside. Again, it also grows in a clump. It's the only thing that's different is the leaves are flat. So it's kind of just, a personal preference. They say that the flat is a little more stronger. To me, I think they taste the same. So I don't really notice a difference between the two. But they are both great, and you can actually grow both. I mean, why not? And have different uses for them when you're cooking or drying them. Rosemary is one of my favorite herbs to grow. I put that in the formal garden that I planted. I always put some in some containers, but growing them from seed, I don't have the patience for it. There's so much that needs to be done to get it to do well, and I'm just not that person. It is a perennial, but it doesn't. It's not hardy here. Some people have had good luck, but I've not had good luck trying to keep that over. So I always buy plants every year. So with the germination, it's not that it's long. It could be up to 30 days, but the percentage of rate of germination is around 20%. So if you do try it, you'll need a cold treatment. So that would be just putting those seeds in the refrigerator for a few weeks. And then they recommend soaking the seeds. And then when you plant them, they need good drainage, not too wet. Want to water from the bottom, approximately 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So you may need some bottom heat for that. A lot of input to get those to germinate. So I just decided, yeah, I'm going to buy plants. That is what's best for me. So for those of you that have tried it and been successful, congratulations, because that is a lot of work. So good job in getting that, because I just would not be successful. So it's another one that you want to plant really shallow. So you just press the leaves or press the seeds on top. And since it can be slow to germinate, you're going to want to start them pretty early, probably even into February, to get plants to put outside. I love the upright growth habit of rosemaries. I love the real stiff stems that they have. Do great in full sun. There's such great texture with them. So I just really enjoy them. And then if you have them in a pot, you can bring it inside as a house plant. Just check it for any insects before you bring them in, and you can keep them over and then put them back outside next year. So one of the favorite things that I do with rosemary, since I grow so much, is I make a wreath. And it's really simple to do. You just need a wire wreath form. and floral wire, and then pruners. And for how many plants to have, I usually have 3 very large plants that I don't harvest from the whole summer. So then I have those nice long stems to prune off when I make the wreath. And I put them in bundles of 3 or 5, and then just put the bundles together, and then I wire the bundles on the wreath form, and just hang it. And I don't do anything else with it. I don't add anything else. It's just all rosemary, and it will last several weeks. And so that's how I use a lot of my rosemary, and that's why I plant so much. But a really easy way to display them, and you only really need 3 fairly large plants to do that. So fun project to try. Sage is another real common herb that people grow. It is a perennial. It grows really well and gets to be very large plants. I had one probably for about 8 years, and it got enormous. Unfortunately, where I had it, my landscape had been evolving, so where I've got some large trees, a lot more shade, and so I had this in a shady spot, and it just did not like it. So definitely full sun for sage when you plant it. Easy to start from seed, 7 days to get that to germinate. Once the last frost is gone, you can plant it outside. I haven't tried sowing seeds outside, so I don't know how easy that is, but that's certainly an option. But I love the texture of the leaves. I think it's a great just perennial plant on its own. It looks great in the landscape. So lots of options. Even if you don't want to harvest it or eat it, I'd still add it to your landscape. It's a nice upright plant. Like I said, I love the color of the leaves. There are different types. There are some bicolor and tricolor leaves of different sages. So a lot to pick from there. So that's just one that I think would be great for any garden. Another one that's easy to cut the stems when they're 8 to 12 inches and bundle them together to hang dry. So that's another one that's really easy to dry, and will take a little longer because the leaves are a little thicker, but so be patient with that, but a great one to dry. And once they do bloom, they have a purple flower, and they attract bees. So just all around great plant. Savory is one that I was interested in growing because I'm not as familiar with the savories. I grew them this year and last year, and I love the scent. It is just very different. So it's fun to add to different recipes that you prepare. But it's just a little different than thyme, a little different than oregano. The summer savory is an annual. Can take a bit of time to germinate. I had good luck. Grew fairly well. So I started them inside. Again, you just don't cover the seeds at all. Just press them on top of the soil. Kind of a mounding type of plant, but it does kind of spread out. And so give it some space when planting. Does best in full sun. And so it's approximately 55 days, 65 days before it starts to flower. So it's got little flowers, attractive for bees. But if you want to try something new or something different and you haven't tried the savories, I think you'll be real pleased. It's not a strong scent or strong taste, but it's definitely different than any of the other herbs. So then winter savory is a perennial, and a little different in the way the leaves look, a little different in the taste, but still really good. So I had great luck on germinating this plant. Again, surface sow the seeds and give them time to get established into plants before you put them outside. They do recommend that germination is better indoors than trying to start them outside. Growth habit, again, mounding, gets to be about 1 foot tall. full sun is recommended, but as soon as you start getting, plants that have stems that are 6 inches, you can start pruning and harvesting the seeds, and then it will encourage more growth. So definitely one that by pruning, you're going to get more growth to that plant. And again, the little tiny flowers, really attractive to bees. So hopefully everyone likes pollinators as much as I do, because you're going to have a lot out there. It'll be wonderful. Thyme, another real common herb, and then there's lots to pick from. So I'm just going to kind of cover two. I did grow the lemon thyme in my formal herb garden. I love the smell, love the scent and taste of it. So great to use for cooking. So that's one I really recommend. But I just love the different thymes, the different leaves, the different textures. So again, a lot to try. I like the common thyme because of its upright growth. The stems are stronger, so they stay upright. I just love that form, and it'd probably be another one that I would add to a formal garden, just because of kind of the structure of that plant. Easy to start inside. It germinated 3 days. I couldn't believe it. I was really pleased at the good luck I had with that, and usually always comes back each year. So I have good luck with growing thyme. Like I said, the upright, about 12 inches. And as soon as the leaves are, or the stems are 6 inches, you can start harvesting. One method I like about with thyme is I cut the stems, and then I just kind of strip the leaves off, so you can just dry the leaves really quickly. Also, or you can use them fresh that way. And so it's real easy to harvest and strip them off the stem, and then start using them for whatever you're cooking. Has little white flowers that are attractive to bees. The other thyme I'm going to mention is the creeping thyme. I think this is great for ground cover. It's an alternative to some other ground covers. Perennial, and again, germinated really quickly. I was really happy. You can start it inside and get those plants out, and they work great around pavers. Some people use it as an alternative to some small turf areas. You can walk on it, and it will handle that okay. But then you can harvest it to eat too. So, and then a great scent. So lots of options with creeping thyme. And there's some other woolly thyme is another low growing one that would be a good ground cover. Like I said, low growing, creeping, it will spread, does best in full sun, and just lots of options there. Little lavender flowers for the bees, so you will still have bees when it starts to bloom, but a lot of versatility with the different types of thymes that you can grow. So I always recommend planting more than one when you're putting in an herb garden. All right, so if you are in Lincoln or visit Lincoln, there is a really wonderful herb garden out at Pioneers Park. It's started in 1972 with just 16 herbs, and it has just grown into this masterpiece garden. It is amazing. So many different herbs to pick from. They do have to be a bit selective, because with it being Pioneers Park, there's a lot of wildlife there. And so they have found that some herbs are more attractive. So there's a few that they don't grow, but it's a beautiful place to visit. It was named after Louise, who was an editor for the Nebraska Farmer and a very experienced herb gardener. And she also has several herb books that are still in circulation. So if you are in Lincoln, take time to visit if you can. A couple publications I want to mention, and I think Scott's going to help me out and put them in the chat. Growing Herbs. It's a publication out of Missouri. Was real helpful to me. And then if you're interested in drying herbs, Purdue has put together a really good publication. So I think both of those would be helpful if you're planning to grow some herbs. And we would like you to take our survey, if you would, and let us know how we're doing. And check the time here. I have no idea. Okay, I did okay. So thank you for being with us today. I'll leave this up, but if there's some questions, I've got a little bit of time. So thank you for joining us. Join us for our last one in October, and thank you for joining us today. If there's not any other questions, we'll let you go to lunch early. So, and thank you for everyone, all our extension team for joining us today. I appreciate your help so much. Thank you.